All right, let's dive right in. If you follow crypto, you know how it is. The daily headlines are just a chaotic storm of numbers, jargon, and noise. It's confusing, right? It feels almost impossible to figure out what actually matters. So today, we're going to slice right through all of that.
I mean, just look at this. This isn't made up. It's a real headline. Bitcoin drops with an increase. How in the world does that even work? This is exactly the kind of stuff that makes it so hard to see the bigger picture. It's enough to make you want to throw your hands up.
So yeah, let's do exactly that. Let's just ignore the daily chaos for a minute and zoom out. Because the real story of 2025, the one that actually matters, isn't buried in all that noise. It's a much bigger story about some surprising rivalries and maybe a fundamental shift in finance itself.
Okay, first things first. Let's talk about the big investment horse race that's happening this year. Now, you'd probably think Bitcoin is leading the charge, right? But the reality is a little more interesting.
And boom, here's our first surprise. While Bitcoin is having a killer year, no doubt about it, up over 25%, it's actually being beaten by good old gold. The classic old-school asset is leading the pack. And both of them, they're leaving traditional stocks like the Nasdaq way behind in the dust.
And this isn't just a small thing. This is a huge deal. Some data from strategist Charlie Bolello shows this is literally the first time in history that gold and Bitcoin have been the number 1 and 2 performing assets of the year. What does that tell you? It's a massive signal that investors are seriously looking for alternatives.
But here's the thing. That short-term horse race we just saw, it's just one chapter of the book. To really, truly understand what Bitcoin is, we have to pull the camera way, way back. Not just by a year. We're talking more than a decade. And when you do that, wow, the whole picture just transforms. 38,897,420%. Let that sink in for a second. No, your screen isn't broken. That's not a typo. That is Bitcoin's total return since 2011. It's a number so mind-bogglingly huge that it almost doesn't seem real.
So how do you even wrap your head around a number like that? Well, let's break it down into something a little more digestible. On average, every single year since 2011, Bitcoin has gone up a staggering 141%. Now compare that. The Nasdaq, under 19%. Gold, not even 6%. Over the long haul, it's not even in the same league. It's not even playing the same sport.
And it's that kind of insane performance that leads veteran traders like Peter Brandt to make these incredibly bold statements. He's basically saying, look, gold's great. It's had a good run. But Bitcoin, with its verifiable digital scarcity, the fact that no one can just decide to print more of it, that's what positions it to be the ultimate store of value.
Okay, so we've got Bitcoin versus gold, but that's not the only battle going on. In fact, one of the most fascinating dramas of 2025 is happening inside the crypto world itself. It's kind of a family feud, really, a huge rivalry between the two giants, Bitcoin and Ethereum.
So how do we keep score in this internal fight? Well, analysts and traders use what's called the ETH to BTC ratio. Just think of it like a seesaw. When the ratio goes up, it means Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. When it goes down, Bitcoin is flexing its muscles. It's really the best scoreboard we have for this power struggle.
And man, that scoreboard is flashing red hot right now. Just since April of this year, that ratio has doubled. That is a massive, lightning-fast swing. It means a river of money has been flowing out of Bitcoin and straight into Ethereum. And a move that big, that fast, you better believe it's kicked off a fiery debate. You've basically got two camps. In one corner, you have the Bitcoin purists like Samson Mao. Their take? This is just a temporary side quest. Traders are just using Ethereum to make quick profits, and eventually they'll bring all that money back home to the safer asset, Bitcoin. But in the other corner, you have analysts like Ted Pillows who see it totally differently. They're saying, no, Ethereum is leading this charge. It'll hit its own new highs, kick off a huge rally in other cryptos, an alt season, and then the capital will flow back to Bitcoin. So, okay. A bunch of crypto insiders are arguing. Why should you care? Why does any of this internal drama matter if you're not a full-time trader? Well, here's why. Wall Street has officially entered the chat. And they are dragging these assets right into the mainstream for everybody. I mean, just get a load of this. Think about all the major new investment funds, ETFs, that have launched since the start of last year. Of the top 20, A full 50%. Half of them are related to crypto. This isn't some tiny niche market anymore. It is a dominant force in new investment products, period. And we're not just talking about simple products here. Sure, you've got your straightforward Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs that just track the price, but there's so much more. We're seeing funds built around companies that hold tons of crypto on their balance sheets, and even complex leveraged ETFs designed to juice the returns. The point is, Wall Street isn't just dipping a toe in, they've jumped into the deep end, and they are getting very, very creative.
All right, let's take a breath and try to put all these moving pieces together. We've got the short-term noise, a long-term revolution, this internal power struggle, and now the full, undivided attention of Wall Street. So, what does it all mean?
What it is, really, is a massive, multi-level tug-of-war. On one end of the rope, you have the short-term race for this year's returns between gold and Bitcoin. On the other end, you've got that epic, long-term war for the title of ultimate store of value, where Bitcoin has been completely dominant. And right in the middle, you have that fierce family feud between Ethereum and Bitcoin, fighting over capital.
And this entire chaotic, fascinating mess is unfolding just as these assets are becoming available to practically anyone, which leaves us with the billion-dollar question for 2025 and beyond, doesn't it? Are we just watching a speculative digital gold rush that's going to burn itself out? Or are we standing at the dawn of a completely new financial era? For now, that story is still being written.